I'm a pathologist by training, so usually they don't let me out of the basement back home. So getting to visit another city today is quite a treat. So I am also admissions lead through in Dundee, but I also run the first 3 years of the curriculum, so I'm convener for the first 3 years in the medical school. So I've got a good grasp, really, of what it takes to get into the medical school, but also what we offer throughout the medical school. I'm also a graduate from Dundee as well, so I've got a long period of insight into it. This is not our medical school on the screen behind us. This is the VNA, but it is now a contractual obligation for anyone working anywhere in Dundee that one of your slides has to have the VNA in it. I guess the point for putting it up there is that Dundee has changed a lot with time. Some of it has got worse, mainly our football teams, but the rest of the city has undergone a huge amount of regeneration. It's a lovely place to come. It's very much a student city these days, so the percentage of the population that are students is high, and you certainly notice when the students are in town and when it's certainly the summer holidays, there's definitely far less people around and about and much less of an atmosphere. Why should you come and study in Dundee? I think one of the reasons, again, for putting this up is I think you have to decide. I think, if we're all honest, I think any medical school that you study at in the UK will give you a very good education. The Scottish medical schools are all ranked very highly. I think we were ranked, first in Scotland a week ago in the Times and second in the UK, but everyone will have a ranking to share with you today. A lot of it will boil down to what suits you. You come to the city, experience the city, come to open days, have a look around the city, see which one suits you best. And then come to each of the schools, the medical schools, and see which one you think is a fit for you. We will all do the same exam now at the end of medical school. There's a medical licensing assessment. So we're now all working towards the same end point, even more so than we may have been in the past. So it's difficult to stand here and say that we're a million miles better than anybody else, because we're not. But you need to come and see us and meet some of the staff, see the university, see the city, and see if it's the right fit for you. We're a very practical course, we're a very practical faculty, so we have an integrated spiral curriculum as well, and that doesn't mean much sometimes to say it out loud, and I think a lot of our staff sometimes wonder what it means as well. But what it means from your point of view is that we're a very practically orientated course, and in Dundee we talk about being doctors from day one. We have an open door ward policy, so straight away in first year we've got a very clinically applied course, so you do learn the basic sciences, but very much in context of what you need to know for when you graduate and what you need to learn to put those building blocks together for when you get into the clinical years in fourth and fifth year. Now, I'm a pathologist, so I fight hard for the basic sciences in the course, so they are there. And they're there in a very strong sense, but they're all there in a very applied sense as well. So random questions that are not relevant for you later on in your career, they're not the sort of things that we're interested in. So we're a very practical course. We pride ourselves on practical exposure throughout the years, and I think one of the things our graduates are well known for is that preparedness for practice. You hear a lot about resilience at school and trying to make people resilient, and I've never attended a session where someone's tried to make anybody resilient and thought that someone was more resilient after it. But we talk about resilience in doctors particularly, and I think the one thing that makes you resilient is knowing what you're doing, which sounds silly, but it's true. Anxiety and fear generally are fear of the unknown, and we want you to graduate in 5-6 years' time and be able to do the job. We want you to finish in fifth year having had all the experiences and done all the things that we need you to do, so that when you're doing them as an FY1 doctor, an FY2 doctor, you're far less anxious about it. If you're far less anxious about it, you're confident, you do well at your job, and you're more likely to stick at it for longer and enjoy it. So that's where we're coming from with our practical perspective. We're also quite practically minded when it comes to admissions as well. So we're very data driven now. We look at the numbers, and we really want to select the students that are going to progress well in the course and perform well in the course. We have changed dramatically what we're doing this year, so many of you will already have heard about multiple mini interviews, and we're not going to run them this year, and you'll hear about what we're doing instead shortly. I think we've almost all got the same academic scores, so the minimum for us is 4 A's and a B, but chemistry or biology, so you don't have to have chemistry, you can have one or the other. Like a lot of the other institutions, we do have a widening access policy as well. So if you fit one of the criteria on our website, there is a grade discount. So that's 3As and 2Bs. And we provide an uplift for the UCAT score as well. All of our offers for mainly Scottish students who are sitting hires will come with a condition, and typically that's 3Bs in S6, and that's either advanced hires or a crash hire in a separate subject, and one of them within a science. We will look at your UCAT score, but we don't have a minimum. And this is where we've differed a lot this year in our approach. So the thing that we've looked at, looking at our own data, the thing that predicts your performance best in medical school and your progression in medical school is your academic score, which is probably not a huge surprise. And we recognise that there are some people out there who are slightly disadvantaged, and hopefully our adjustments take care of that. The UCAT, I think, does provide some predictive validity, but not a huge amount. So we're using it as a secondary screening tool. So you will all be ranked initially on your academic score. So for example, if you have 100 out of 100 for your academic score, you will then be, all of those in that category will be ranked on the basis of their UCAT score. Everyone with 99 out of 100 will then be ranked on their UCAT score, and so on and so on. Then we provide a final layer of screening on top of that with the interview at the final stage. And as I said, the interviews now are the Dundee Medical Interview Selection Tool, because you have to have an acronym now, so DMIS, that's what we're doing. We looked at MMIs for a long period of time. We were a very early adopter of doing MMIs, and I think they did work quite well initially, but we have found with time that students who come and applicants who come to sit the MMIs know fine what's coming. And in fact, if you sit where you are just now with your laptops and Google Dundee Medical School MMIs, you've got a reasonable chance of finding most of the stations on the internet. I've sat on the other side of the table of MMIs a long, long period of time, and it's become increasingly difficult to differentiate between candidates because everybody says similar things. Everybody knows what's coming, so you can see a switch going in people's heads, and they think, okay, here's an ethics station, and there's almost a script that's delivered. So it didn't help us discriminate between our candidates at all. So we've developed this new tool, which is a group-based format. You'll be in a room with 6 other students for an observed discussion. We're going to present you with an ethical scenario and some prompts, and it's a reasonably controversial and tricky ethical scenario, and one that we hope you'll find challenging. So you'll have an opportunity to discuss that, introduce yourselves to the others within your group, and that's observed by an assessor. You'll then have a short break and go to another room for a facilitated discussion where bits of that conversation might be probed further or may wander off topic. Part of the reason for this, and a lot of the scenarios have been selected because they're essentially content agnostic. You shouldn't need to know much about the subject matter before answering the question. And in fact, if it just so happens you are a subject expert in it, you won't be any more advantaged than anybody else within those subjects. So it's less about what you're saying and it's more about how you're saying it. We've got a marking rubric that's going to look at your communication skills, both one-to-one, but obviously within that group setting, your professional values and behaviours, and your ability to work in a group. And that will provide the final part of the ranking. So the take-home message is that it's mainly your academic score that is the predominant weighting, a second layer of ranking based on UCAT, and then a final layer of ranking based on that interview performance. But as I said, come to Dundee, have a look around, go to the other universities as well, come to the medical schools, go to the open days and do the tours and see which place is the right fit for you. And you get a sense of a place sometimes, I think, when you visit it, and I think that's the important thing for you all to do. You'll no doubt have lots of questions, and please, I've got my email address, I think, on almost every slide there, and I know we've got Q&A at the end, but often you think of questions when you leave. So please jot down my email address and feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. Okay, thank you.